I get the opening statement as a part of the tips party, and he gets the closing statement due to a coin flip. So we started with question number 1. Should we cash out credit card tips? This is actually the most requested question that I've actually received. Kelly Barnhart specifically. I talked to Bryce right before today, and he mentioned that he felt like this was the biggest issue that was on his mind. And as much as I agree, I think it's the challenging aspect to say. I know that some restaurants around the area typically do it. I know that we have bigger issues and political stances that are actually removing tax on tips, which I think is a great thing. But to say that should we cash out credit card tips, am I for it? Yes. Would I be a front runner in trying to get the idea across? Of course. The likelihood and the probability of it getting voted in across the board and it actually happening, I'm not exactly sure if this is going to be the case. And that's what I'll say about the first question.
As my opponent was saying, I do agree with him. I agree that our Bay Work people, they work really hard, especially Kelly Barnhart. She's been pushing for it for a while, and I made a promise to her, and I will keep that promise for you, Kelly. Our Bay people work extremely hard, and their tips should not be taxed. There's no reason why these people bust their butt for our customers just for their tips to be taxed. And I will push for that. That's all I have to say for the first question.
Amen.
Do I go? The second question is performance or annual raise? This is a really tough question for me because I am 50-50 with it. For those who've been here a long time, they do deserve a raise. And I believe that like every couple of years there should be a raise, 50 cents, $1, it doesn't matter. But also those who perform well, they also deserve the raise. They work really hard. They prove that we can do anything if we put our mind to it. And we have the people, who've been here for 5 years. They might be good at their job, but then we could have someone who just started who's like really, really good. And in a couple months, they would only get better. And if they deserve a raise over someone who's been here 5 years, they actually deserve it. And that's all I would have to say for that one.
Performance or annual raise? Again, another pretty good question. I think an annual raise given to people that have been there a couple of years, I wouldn't exactly say is totally out of question for myself in agreement, but I wouldn't say that I'm fully in agreement of it. I think everybody that has been there, we have the people that have been there 20 plus years, 10 plus years, I think that they greatly deserve, for sure, the money that they make, but we could have an employee who per se has been there for 5 years, and if we're just going to give it out of, care or a charity case, I think I would have to disagree with that. I'm sure, when I started, I was 4 months in, and I got promoted immediately to crew leading without question. And I say that with not a boastfulness, but true appreciation. But there were people there at the time who had been there for 5 or plus years who disagreed with the idea of me moving up. But by my work ethic, by my standpoints and the way that I conducted myself, I showed that performance, I think, is the best way for wages. I'll stop there. And question number 3. Should the Mendez brothers be free? This was a topic that I had no idea what it was. Greatly, I was educated by Bryce Barnhart. The Mendez brothers, knowing what they had gone through with their parents, and a similar situation to Gypsy Rose, I would have to say, yeah, I think they should be free, knowing that they went in around 18, and when the other one was 21, and they're going to get out, possibly, as the case is being reopened within the next, I'd say, the next year or so. I think that anybody that goes through those types of situations, criminal justice for sure should be taken. But in this case, I think they were just some kids who really needed some help, and that'll be my closing statement there.
For that question, I would say I agree. They've been through a lot, but I would not say free them immediately. I feel like maybe they should have a reduced sentence, and not as long as they have originally. They've been through a lot, and I truly understand it. But murder, it's never the way. And they could have went to other measures. They could have done things so much differently, and they could have got out of that situation a lot easier than what they did. And I agree, though, they did go through a lot. So I feel like their sentence should just be reduced, and that's all I have to say for that. And question number 4 is: does Amber look like Gypsy Rose? I love Amber with all my heart. She's a great, wonderful, and inspiring worker. And Amber puts a lot of work and time into her makeup and stuff. And I would have to agree, Amber does look a little bit like Gypsy Rose, but it is a good thing because she looks like a celebrity, and we all love to celebrate a hardworking person like Amber. And I would have to say, yes, Amber does look like Gypsy Rose, just a tad bit. But instead of the murderous inspiration that her lookalike had, she is very kind, very loving, and she goes out of her way for others who wouldn't do it for her.
Does Amber look like Gypsy Rose? Amber has been like a sister to me for close to 4 years now. We've had great relationships, and we've managed we have managed to work together greatly. Of course, starting together, I'm teaching her how to cook in a grill. Wow, she started out on cashier. Of course, then moving on to Bays, where we would work with our great friend Kaylee. We would produce a great relationship. I will never forget the day that she came to me and she told me the story about a man saying, has anyone ever told you that you look like Gypsy Rose? Now, if I was Amber, I would be greatly hurt, greatly, tragically disappointed that someone had compared me to the way that Gypsy Rose was. I think Gypsy Rose's situation is, unfortunately terrible, and it's a shame that my opponent can't keep himself together about the question of Gypsy Rose and Amber. Knowing the seriousness of the situation. But I would say that yes, Amber, unfortunately, as much as I love you and as much as you are my sister, that you are unfortunately too much of a lookalike, like Gypsy Rose. But it does not change my opinion about you or anything else, and I'll stop there. The next question that we move on to is overtime for covering shifts. This is actually a pretty decent question, I would say. I don't know exactly if I have too much of an opinion on it. I think that there's 2 aspects to this question. I think the first one is, should people get overtime for covering shifts? And maybe that is just simply they're covering for the shift and they should get paid maybe double wage because they picked up a shift. And I would say that I would have to disagree with that. I think that sometimes, I think if you just pick up a shift, that's great. And we greatly appreciate that and we applaud that. And we know that you're for the team and we love that. However, should people get overtime approved if they are to pick up shifts that other people may not be able to cover? That is an absolutely great question. I think if one of my best workers was in need of a replacement, and I really needed one of these great workers who was unfortunately too close to hours. Let's say he had 34, and if he worked this shift, he'd be working around a 6-hour shift. Maybe he's going to hit 40 or maybe like 40.39 or something like that. So he gets 39 minutes of overtime. I think that's something that should absolutely happen if given the circumstance. Of course, could we always go around it? Absolutely. But I see there's no discouragement or any turn away for overtime and covering shifts. I think we should greatly applaud that. Of course, avoid it in the way that we can, like I said. But my full statement would be to allow that for sure.
I will also agree with my opponent. I think that those who work hard and those who pick up the shifts deserve their overtime. I also agree that it's hard finding replacements sometimes, so we have to go through those measurements, and we do suffer with that a lot. We suffer with stuff like that, but then that's where it comes to employees who should be taking responsibility. We'll have employees who take someone's shifts and doesn't let the manager know, and now they're closer to overtime, and that shift probably wasn't even in need of being taken of. And then when they are needed for a shift that is in need of taken of, they're over hours, and that could cause problems. So this is definitely should be a wake-up call to those employees to always let a manager know, always let the manager check your time before you just jump ahead and say, I'm taking this shift. And I think that as a team, we could fix that together, and that should be a problem we discuss further down the road. And then we have question number 6. It says, will you give us dress down days? So, with that question being said, we already have 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where you can wear whatever shirt you want. And a lot of our employees do take advantage of it, and they wear classic shirts they just bought off the shelf. And so we do understand some employees don't work those days. And we are, sorry, but like at the same time, we do got to keep a uniform going because you want to see each other as a team. We can't just be all separate in different colors because then it's kind of like division a little bit. But if you see everybody in the same color, working hard together, you will get that team vibe, and that's what we go for. A lot of people was saying stuff like shorts and stuff. That just goes against any OSHA standards, and that's just unacceptable. There's too many hazards, and we cannot risk it. Unfortunate, I know, but it's just something we can't do. And that's all I had to say for that.
I'm going to start with, I think that was a great way of explaining it, but I'm going to say that my opponent came off very harsh and very rude at the beginning. I think this was a logical question that was asked, and I feel as if my opponent came for the person who asked the question. What I would say is the OSHA thing I definitely agree with. The OSHA thing, I think that is just, if we wear shorts around hot grease or hot food, I think it's a very dangerous situation. The last thing that we need is, something to do with workers' comp or having to take someone to the hospital. I think that's a very dangerous situation that could easily be avoidable. We understand that our kitchens are very hot, and we know that some people struggle in that situation. And of course, we want to provide the best way to make sure that our employees are having a good time and feeling comfortable. But unfortunately, there's just some standards that we can't meet. However, I think dress down days are a great thing. I think 3 days is just simply not enough. I started and we had all kinds of different colors, all kinds of different designs, and I believe that we should still have that. I think the maroon and the orange shirts is something that I was totally against when I first heard that this was happening, and I fought for it for very long. Unfortunately, got passed, and there was nothing that I could do about it. I started, there was blue shirts, there was red shirts, purple, green, and I think us being able to wear all different types of shirts allowed for more awareness and for people to see these different kinds of designs. I'm grateful that we have the opportunity to be able to wear hoodies of any kind of type, no matter the shirt or whatever type of day it is. I think it's great on Sundays that everyone's able to support their favorite football team, fins up. I would, however, say that I understand the idea of forcing employees to wear the same shirts Monday through Thursday. However, I would choose a different color, and I'll stop there. Number 7, how do we keep the parking lot clean? I think this is a great question. But it could be summed down to this. When the dish person opens in the morning, they are to, of course, set themselves up, but to make sure that before we open, or right a little bit before, a little bit after, let's make sure that we can get the parking lot swept. Let's make sure that we can change the trash, and let's be intentional about this. You don't want to just go to any restaurant and see that their parking lot is dirty or trashy, even considering where we live at, where homelessness is very popular. We live in an area that's not so kept up, not so clean, and we want to make sure that we're able to provide that for people. Especially, I've come and I've seen and I know places exactly, and I know that we can be the best. And I know I've seen the other shops, I've been to all of them, and I know that we aren't always the best at keeping up at it and that we can do better. I'm very grateful that I've been able to step in to that standpoint. When I am in charge, I make sure that my employees are able to make sure that a lot's clean, and we can clean not only just the parking lot, but we can clean the grass area. Let's make sure that our cardboard and our garbage is in the right spot that we need. I'm all for a clean environment. I'm all for a clean shop. And I think that this is a very easy, avoidable situation, especially when we can join together and we can make sure that it's not just on the dish guys, but if you ever see a piece of trash, let's clean it up.
One of the most important things to a restaurant is presentation. And the parking lot is the first thing you'll see when you're entering, and it'll be the last thing you see when you're leaving. When you're entering, you don't want to enter to a dirty, filthy parking lot, because then you go, God, what's on the inside? And although we do have our dish people in the morning who go out there and sweep, I am one of them myself actually. I feel like maybe we should have more times. I feel like there's times where our dish boys have some open time, and instead of just sitting on their phones, they should take advantage of that, go outside and sweep, so that the people the next morning don't just have to have this huge mess they have to clean. I feel like maybe even like every 2 hours we just go out there, quick little sweep, just so that morning people don't have to deal with so much built up. Check the trash cans. It's very important, and I know it's kind of a struggle. We have customers who just kind of throw their trash everywhere, but we could be the difference by if we just put a little more effort. And that's all I have to say about that. And then question number 8 is raise. And that kind of just goes back to question number 2. If you want a raise, you have to show us you deserve this raise. You have to put in the effort, you have to put in the time, you have to put your childish behaviors behind you and show that you deserve this raise. You have to show that you have to go above and beyond for the shop. We can't just be handing out money to anybody because they feel like they deserve it. You have to show us why you feel like you deserve that raise. And that's all I have to say about that.
I'll start with the little bit off of what he said. I felt like earlier, according to the credit that I had, when we talked about the performance of the annual raise, you were in agreement with an annual raise. Maybe years, I know you talked about people that were there for prominently good time, you felt like as if they should be rewarded for their years. Is that true?
Yes.
So in that statement of Tim talking about raises where he says that you should prove yourself and worth yourself, this seems like it's an uncertainty of where he actually stands. Raise, I think he did a great job in explaining it. However, I'm going to point out the fault in where it seems like he doesn't exactly know where he stands on it as of yet. However, raises, I will stand on my said thing earlier where I talked about that we believe that people that deserve it and that have earned hard, worked hard, that they deserve the raises that they get. And I'll end with that. Number 9, what is Employee Day? This is actually a great question. I've never actually heard of Employee Day. I'm going to say that Employee Day is maybe a day to appreciate the people who have stood up, that have worked for us, worked with us. We think about people like Heidi, who's been there close to 50 years. And we applaud her and we're thankful for the time that she's put in. And we are appreciative of the new starts. You know, the people that just joined just this month, just this week, just this year. We're thankful for the people that have left and have come back. We're thankful for the people who have left and not come back. We're thankful that the hot dog shop has been around since 1946. And it's been around for not only the customers, but also for the people that could keep it afloat. No matter the fires that burned down the building, no matter the building that's changed, no matter the upgrades to the building, no matter to the change of ownership, we have provided and shown that it's really about community that matters. I think Employee Day would be a great day to really maybe acknowledge those, depending on what it is and whatever it is. I'm not exactly sure what this is, but that would be my stance on it. And as a person who can make this happen, I would like to provide and to say that I stand on that. And I would like to provide an assurance that Employee Day, although I don't know, I will make sure that it is about this.
When I first saw the question, what is Employee Day, I was as confused as my opponent. And I figured, instead of trying to figure out what it is, I should make it. And I feel like Fridays are a really good day for Employee Day. Back then, our Facebook would post our employees a little bit of appreciation. I feel like nowadays we should do that a lot. We should just post a random person who works for us, show us a little appreciation, and on Sundays we do little discounts. So maybe on these Fridays we could just do a little discount to show that we love our employees. And then on to the next question. It says, what has both candidates done to provide for the shop? Me, myself, I try to work as hard as I can for the shop. I do a lot of things while working and while off the clock. Just recently, I just pressure washed the basement. It took a long time. It took me 10 hours, but I got it done. But that is not the first time I've done something like that. I've pressure washed the bun room for people. I've gone above and beyond. I've always taken shifts for those in need. I've always given encouragement to those who need it. I've done a lot, and I know it's not off the top of my tongue because I've done so much for this place, but I do try to be a positive impact for my employees.
what have both candidates done for the shop? An absolutely phenomenal question. I will applaud my opponent for the work that he's done, for the work in the trials that he's been tested through, for picking up shifts, for covering places where people could have stepped up, but they decided not to. However, I would like to note, not to my own degree, that a lot of the pressure washing and the deep cleaning would not be effective without my leadership. Back in the spring, start of summer, I, after about, say like 20 or 30 years, have finally decided to clean out the shed. I've decided to clean the top of the cooler, which was filled to the brim with different types of material that we not only were able to go through and we were able to sort, and maybe we were able to find some things that we never even knew that we had. But I was also able to clean the basement, which would not have been able to be pressure washed if it had not been for me. There was a night where I was able to really focus and get everything done that I needed to. Was able to organize and provide opportunities to create even space for the office to where we could hold other things. I would say for myself that I am the corner piece of the hot dog shop. I feel as if, and it's been noted by several employees, that if I was not there, that they don't even know if they would be there themselves. Which is a troubling statement to know that I have that much weight on my shoulders. However, it is grateful to know that I am that much appreciated and that much valued. I think that I have done a great job in providing different ideas as my opponent, in providing good outlook in decision making. And I'll move on to the next question. Price cost percentage. I'm not exactly sure what this question is supposed to mean, but I would say price cost percentage, I'm going to guess, is maybe talking about in recent years, of course, prices have gone up. Unfortunately, this is something that we cannot exactly control. Price cost percentage has gone up ever since I've started. When I started, a hot dog was 106. The following year went to 107. It then moved up to 116, 117, 120, so on, to where now I think it is around $1.60. Unfortunately, not only have hot dog prices gone up, but fry prices, milkshake prices. The ability to be able to eat whatever we want, of course, is now out of the question, which is it's an uncertain, unfortunate situation. However, it's not much that we can handle. I would say that would I love to be able to lower the prices? Of course. Would I love to be able to get in and make sure that our food is being accounted for the stuff that isn't actually being accounted for, so that way our percentages doesn't look so bad? Of course, I would love to be able to do that, and I promise that I will do that. However, unfortunately, for the price costs, as the way that they are, unfortunately, are set in stone, and hopefully with a couple years down the road, a couple months down the road, we have some new presidential American candidates that are happening. Of course, we never know. We never know if inflation can go down. And if it can, I would love to be able to see price percentages go down, or to be where they're at supposed to be in all agreements.
I would have to agree with everything my opponent said. He said it perfectly, and I agree with everything he said. I had not one doubt. But I would just like to add on to that there's no one to blame. A lot of people always like to put a blame on someone. No one can control it, especially employees like me and my opponent. We have no control over that. And there should be no blaming. There should be no, oh, this person's fault, all that person's fault. It's just we're struggling together as a country, and this is something that we just have to keep fighting for. And then on to the next question. The question number 12 is Donut Day. So for a long, long time, our lovely Bob every week has been bringing in donuts for our employees. Now, sure, we have our morning people who might get to the good donuts before the night people, and that could be causing some upsetness or tension. But we should be really grateful for Bob, first off. He does a lot for us, and we do just so little for him if you think of it. But his kindness is just out of this world, and I feel like I understand. Sometimes I go for a donut and it's just the filled ones. I don't like the filled ones. But if you want this donut day for like the night crew, and if you love and appreciate your crew, why not bring in some donuts for the crew, show your appreciation. I do that myself sometimes. I'll bring in some baked goods, or I'll bring in some chicken Alfredo for the team. That'd be a good way to show expression, build team, and it can just cause a overall good environment. That's all I have to say for that.
Donut Day, I think Cameron put it great. I think Bob should be appreciated. And I'll say, even to the night people who may not get the best donuts, there are still some times where there's some availability. Of course, not everyone's eating a donut throughout the day, or sometimes he brings just so much that we can't all eat it in the morning. There's times where the donuts may carry on 2 or 3 days. Of course, it's your choice to eat it a couple days later, but there's always opportunities. I think there's a couple days that have been provided that we aren't exactly sure of. Maybe Donut Day is something that you're stemming out into another realm. I know that we've had the idea of Pancake Day, which of course has been on our schedule. None of us really knew or had the ability to be able to do that, but maybe we can be more intentional about it. I would like to be more intentional. A worker, Kaylee, that I had just as she was getting ready to be in management before she decided to leave a couple years ago, she was very punctual and very intentional about bringing donuts in, making sure her team was cared for and loved for. And maybe it's not even about donuts or treats. Maybe it's about simply just being there for your team, making sure that they're known and appreciated for their hard work, and maybe picking up shifts, covering shifts, and making the team run smoothly. That's mostly what we want. And we want to be able to provide whatever we can for our employees and for our coworkers. And I'll end with that. The next question is, how do we handle the halfway house issue? I would say issue, per se, wouldn't be the exact great terms. I understand what it means. But I would say that we have had fantastic workers that have come into the halfway house. One of the best managers I felt like I've ever worked with was Chris. Unfortunately, he's decided to leave, but he was a person who was in recovery, and he did great. And we had a man who he invited named John, and we had a guy named Jason who was very effective. And I mean, we even have some now who I feel like have either just started or have carried, and we're incredibly grateful for them. And we want to make sure that we're able to provide a safe space and a great work environment for the individuals. We want to make sure that they know that they're not an issue and that we greatly appreciate their work and their work ethic and their standpoints on everything. And I'll end with that.
I would have to agree with everything my opponent just said. He said it so perfectly and so well. One thing I believe in is forgiveness and second chances. And if we can be the shop to give people their second chance, then why not be that shop? Why not give these people a second chance in reality to be someone finally after years of probably not feeling like they're anything? And everything he just said was basically what I would just said, so I would have to stop it right there. And then question number 14 is, how can we prevent weed from getting into our shop? Recently in Ohio, weed has become legal, and I can see how this can become a huge problem to our employees. The last thing we need is employees who are high, distracted, or can't work because of weed. I feel like that can go into maybe the hiring process. We have our manager who's questioning them, ask them if they have weed usage, and then if the person says yes, we'll show them the employee handbook. We have to put the law down ASAP before they could get in and bring it in. Let them know that we're serious about this. I feel like it will, if it were to get in, it would cause a lot of problems, and that is the last thing we need right now. And that's where I would end.
What is exactly reducing, an opportunity for weed to enter the work environment? I think another great question. I would say for sure, as my opponent said, a hiring process is great. I'm not going to say that there's not stereotypes, but you can definitely tell who is and who isn't so-called 420 friendly. I want to say as myself, I don't care, and I support those who want to practice the right to smoke weed, however, not at work. I'm greatly against the idea. It's exactly in our employee handbook that people sign off and make note that this is not accepted. I think a great way to prevent it from entering is, if there's ever a situation where it arises, is to immediately address the situation, no matter what position that you might hold, you want to make sure that we can provide a good work environment. It goes back to the dress down days where we had the question of maybe, can people wear shorts? Can people just kind of wear whatever they want? And that's just not the case. We can't have someone high and unfortunately, just not being in present mind. I mean, you wouldn't come to work drunk. You wouldn't drive drunk. I certainly hope that you wouldn't drive while you're high. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that, it's just a bad work environment. It's a scary situation, and we want to make sure that we're doing this correctly. And we want to make sure that they're still, we are going to invite these employees and make sure that they're known and make sure that they're, available to work. However, don't provide anything that's going to cause a danger to you or to someone else. Next question is, how would we handle the border control? I think this question stems into a couple of different ideas. I think the border control is the hiring process. I think the border control is who are the customers that we allow in, right? I had a situation a couple weeks ago, probably close to a month, of a man who was famously known around Warren. And unfortunately, we had a little bit of an altercation, not fist fighting, not argumentate, but more so just arguing, trying to reduce the situation. And unfortunately, he was unable to be controlled and he left. But how would we prevent the situation, I think, is exactly standing your ground. I think making sure that, if a manager is in a position where he is, maybe in danger, that the workers are going to be able to be in support of him, and vice versa. If there's a customer yelling at an employee, I hope that a manager would give the right jurisdiction to know who to support in the situation, but at the end of the day, know that even if they disagree with their employee, that they can provide a reasoning why and provide a different outlook and to help the individual know why they disagreed. I would say, we have a list of people who are welcome and who aren't welcome. And it's not based by racial, it's not based by stereotypes, it's not based off of, criminal charges. It's simply based on how they're going to treat coworkers, how they're going to treat my employees, how they're going to treat each individual, and even, people in the surrounding area, customers that are coming to look for food. We've had situations in the past where certain customers have gotten into arguments, and we want to be able to provide the best way that we can keep a safety to this. And I would say that I would be a great way to be able to handle the border control.
I would have to agree with my opponent. I feel like we experience way too many confrontations between customers and our workers. And the way I would feel about it might be a little different. I wouldn't say let the customer win, but I would push for them to get out as fast as possible. And I wouldn't argue with my employee if they were in the wrong in front of the customer, because then you're just giving that customer dissatisfaction, and maybe the next time they come in, they're going to do it to another employee. But I would just try to get the customer out as fast as possible, and then when that customer is gone, explain to the employee different ways they could have handled that situation or prevented that from happening in the first place. I feel like when we're hiring people, we should really consider background checks, because we just don't know who we're hiring anymore. Liars are a really big problem. I mean, just because they tell you something doesn't mean it's the truth. And I feel like we should probably start digging further into that, and maybe that can help out what we've been through recently and get rid of that problem. And that's all I had to say for that question. And then it says, question number 16 is, how will we go about the hiring process? That is a very, very great question. Like I said in my previous, I would definitely push for background checks. I know we haven't had it in the past, but I feel like in the future it could be more efficient. As long as, going back to like the weed problem, do they drink or do they smoke? Do they have an addiction to some type? And we should be able to know that, because that will affect your work ethic. I feel like we should go back to, call me Sean. We're going to restart that. I was doing so good. I was on a roll. All right. How would we go about the hiring process? I would go to push, like I said in my previous, I would push for background checks. I feel like it would just make it a lot safer for our employees and a lot better to know who we're dealing with. I would definitely go for asking the question, do they smoke, do they drink, or do they have any addictions? Because that can affect their work ethic, not only for themselves, but for others too, causing our employees having to step up because they are down. I feel like there's a lot that we could do, but there's also not a lot that we can handle, and that I don't have a lot to say, so I will actually go on to the next.
How do we handle the hiring process? Fortunately, I've been able to bring in a few candidates who I've actually been able to keep a part of the team, which, you know, at Hot Dog Shop is unfortunately it's a big challenge. We've had people for years, 10 plus years. We've had people for 2. We've had people for 5. We've had people who've only lasted 1 day, unfortunately. So how would I handle the hiring process? A great question. I've had the fortunate, like I said, ability to be able to hire people and to be able to check people and to talk to people and to engage in conversation, which is great with my background in psychology. I think that I'm able to understand people. I think I'm able to provide a great level of making people feel welcome and appreciated. And we want to make sure that people are welcome and appreciated. But also at the same time, we want to make sure that the workers that we have are making sure that they still feel that they are welcomed. We can bring in as many people as we want. Unfortunately, some people tend to feel like where their stances, where their positions are sometimes in jeopardy. And we want to, you know, provide a great way that not only are we able to handle the hiring process in a great way and meet people and welcome people with open arms and want to give them an opportunity and a possibility of a job, but we wanted to also provide and know that there's always room for improvement and that there's always room for people to be welcomed and greatly appreciate their work. We then move on to personal questions. How do we feel about each vice president exception? I've had the privilege of having 4 children, 2 nephews, and a niece. And unfortunately, my opponent decided to reach out to my middle child, George Simpson. And hearing the things that he has said about exceptions, and upon accepting, you know, giving him the option of a pin and joining the team amidst the defeat in the primaries, he decided that he wanted to join my opponent simply so that way he couldn't make me president. My son has always tried to hide his true love for me, his true acceptance, and his true cherishment. I love all my children. There are no favorites, but I will say that I've had certain activities or certain things that I'd like to do with other people. And I will say that George is someone that I can just have fun with, and it's unfortunate to know that he's decided to join in my opponent and not, you know, endorse or accept the position that his dad has won. And all I can say is I hope at the end of the day that my son knows that despite the things that he said, despite the diss tracks that he's made, I love my son. That'll never change. And I'm very happy, and I wouldn't change anything for asking Austin, my favorite nephew, to be able to be my vice president selection.
A couple years ago, 5th grade, I was a very lonely guy, and until I met Austin, a really good guy, and we became friends almost right away, and our friendship has only gotten better throughout the years. And it really does. It hurts me a lot to know that Sam has taken him for vice president, knowing that I was going to go to him first. Out of spite, he took my best friend from me. And I find it okay, though, because Larry is also one of my best friends. He's more of a brother to me than my own brothers. That's how I feel. We have had a lot of moments together. We've shared a lot of time, and I am very honored to be working next to him. And even if we don't share the same point of views, we have the same view of taking you down. And I will accept it. Even if we clash a little bit, as long as you go down, I'm okay. But it does hurt knowing that Austin, who's probably doing this out of spite just to see me lose, is just teaming up with Sam, his favorite nephew. We'll leave that for the papers. Austin, you know, I hate to say this, but this man has attacked me. Physically and mentally, he has attacked me. And all I have ever said was one little joke, Austin 4-eyer. Okay, he has 4 eyes, he's blind. Okay? It's just a quick little joke. And then he physically abuses me for it. Calls me Gap Cam. Calls me a monkey. All this stuff. For what? What joy do you get out of it, Austin? No joy. You just try to do things to spite me. And that's why you teamed up with this man.
I would actually like to send a rebuttal on this situation. You said that I chose Austin out of spite, and I would have to disagree with that. I chose Austin knowing his stance, knowing how he presents himself, and who he is. I cherish his character, I cherish his hard work, and I'm very grateful that he's my vice president. I would say that these claims of him calling you a monkey is absolutely outrageous, considering your stance on the African American community. I would say that Cameron has not appreciated customers who were black that have sat in his section, and I would say that this is absolutely abysmal. And not only that, but you're talking about violence. Let's bring up about how many times that he has said that he was going to assassinate not only me, his vice president, and my vice president. I'll stop there.
I would like to actually add on to that. I have proof of Austin calling me a monkey, so you can like take that, shove it where the sun don't shine. Austin has shown me that friendship can mean nothing in a time of war. He has told me things that I myself was shook. He has attempted to assassinate me himself. If anything, my assassination attempts are just me rebuttaling because you guys are attempting it first. Sam, you do nothing but constantly harass me when I'm at work. You come up behind me, you hiss at me, you growl at me, you go, "Where is Thumpkin?" in my ear. I'm trying to work hard and provide for the shop, and yet here's a man who wants to goof off and have a good time when we should be putting the business first. And then we're going to go on to question 17. Question 18, sorry. The Christmas party. When I first started at the hot dog shop, I started pretty late in the year. So I think my second or third month was the Christmas party. And I have never really been to parties in my life, so this is kind of one of my first parties, and I enjoyed it a lot. I got to see my little sister have fun with Larry, my vice president. They had a lot of fun. It was a really great time for all of us just to be together, to laugh. The team was on. We didn't think about working. We didn't think about who's going to make this order. We thought about, man, let's just relax and have a day to ourselves. And last year, we didn't have that. We had a party during the shift. So we were working, we had to go, make a quick plate, and come back to work. That is not a party. I feel like we should have a half day and go back to how we were originally doing it. Celebrating our employees, not just Christmas, but our employees. Letting them know that no matter what holiday it is, they are appreciated. And that's all I have to say for that.
The Christmas party. I'll throw a target at you, however. You have talked about how you want us to make money and to be able to provide sales. However, you want to close down for a day for a Christmas party that would stop all sales for either the whole day or a certain amount of hours. Fortunately, my opponent has no idea where he actually stands on this issue. As I said earlier, to another thing. I think that a Christmas party is a fantastic idea. I think a Christmas party, my stance on it is, I think there's no problem in a day where we close early. I've been vocal about situations where I've made known that I think that Sundays should open at 11 and that we should close at 8. I've been very vocal about how I disagree with Fridays and Saturdays being open until 10. Unfortunately, I've put my stance on this. It hasn't gotten voted in, but I will keep trying for the employees of the hot dog shop who also agree with me. I would say the Christmas party is something that is absolutely fun. It is one of my most favorite times that I've had. Being able to dress in similar, we wore the same pajamas, my gigantic family and I, as we were able to have a fun time and to play games. And of course, where I was able to have a great and relatable time, of course, with George's mom. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that we were able to share and the memories that we were able to make. One of our, I think both of our favorite days that we were able to ever experience with one another. And of course, I'm in full agreement of Christmas party.
I would actually like to rebuttal. You say that I don't care about our cost, that you say I'm a little lenient about it. If you were listening, I said half a day. I didn't say full day. And then we come to the thing, I care a little too much about how much we make. I've seen in the past employees accidentally being tricked by customers into giving away free food. Sometimes our employees don't think before they act, and then they give away free food. And I think our employees don't think before they act, before they give away free food. And I've shared my expressions to you that I don't like that. And you just say, well, womp womp. You tell me it's not a big deal. Oh, it's okay. And you're the AGM. You should want money coming into the shop. But when I express to you that we're losing money, you're like, I don't care. How can we vote for that? How can we vote for a man who says he wants to support the shop, but then behind the scenes, he's not supporting the shop. It doesn't affect him, so he doesn't care. And that's all I have to say about that.
I'll actually rebuttal this. I think you saying that me as an AGM that I do not care is absolutely out of pocket and untrue. I think if you were in a manager group chat that you would see greatly that I am always cheering on sales. I am the one who promotes the goals of the month and making sure that everyone is appreciated for the hard work that we do. I'm vowing and always pushing for the idea of more sales. Of course, we have situations where money is unfortunately going to be lost. But would we rather have a happy customer that's going to return or an unhappy customer who didn't get exactly what they wanted to order and for them to not come back? I think that we could make money long term with providing the customer now, providing penny change about maybe giving it up to provide a happy customer than for an unhappy customer who will not return and will never get their money down the road ever again.
I would like to actually rebuttal on that. We can do that right. We have had an incident recently. The customer comes and she wasn't vocal enough to our employee. She didn't say that she wanted sausage cheese on these hot dogs. There was 12 of them. Well, there was actually 6 in the start. There were 6 plain. And she came back in and was like, "Hey, I want chili and cheese on this." And instead of just putting it on, I said, "Okay, let them ring it up." And then the lady threw a fit. But she didn't pay for that chili and cheese. She shouldn't just get it for free just because she forgot to say it. That's just throwing money away at that point. And the manager at the time didn't really understand the situation fully, so the manager gave them 6 more with chili and cheese. Then the customer took all 12 of them home. So not only did she get the free chili and cheese, she got 6 more hot dogs. 6 more hot dogs. That is a lot of money to just be given out because the customer was in the wrong in the beginning. I guess we should probably push for employees asking, "Would you like chili and cheese on that?" when they see plain hot dogs, and that's all I have to say.
Cut off, and I'll make my last rebuttal about the situation. You talk about the customer not speaking up. Unfortunately, maybe our customer said it and it wasn't heard. I feel as if you are questioning maybe the authority of the managers who have allowed this, looking for a happy customer. And also, unfortunately, I feel as if you have held a grudge over the situation that happened months ago. If I were an employee of the hot dog shop, able to vote, I would not want to vote for a candidate who holds a grudge. Someone that is going to look back on past preferences that he cannot let go. This has been months and months and months, and he continues to bring it up. And I will stay with my stance on this.